Story 1. I, 41 female, have been married to my husband, 43 male, for 7 years. We never had any children of our own. Then, last year, my husband sprang upon me the fact that he has a kid, 17 female, from one of his exes. This was a surprise to him too. He didn't know that she existed until recently. I was distraught when I found out, but I decided to put up with the situation for the sake of the marriage. I met his daughter and she was okay. I didn't have any problems with her as a person. My husband wanted to get to know her more, so she started to spend a few days each month at our place. It wasn't the most convenient situation, but I let it happen, because what else could I do? She was his child after all. Then my husband started to pay child support to his daughter. It wasn't something that his kid's mother had asked him to do, so it was something that he had volunteered for. For context, he's got Crohn's disease, so only works part-time and therefore doesn't make much money. In the end, paying for the child support was cutting too much into his savings, so I started making up for it. Even though I helped out, I wasn't happy about it. On top of the child support, my husband would constantly spoil his kid with father-daughter outings at expensive places and treated her to expensive gifts, as well as making me feel left out. This was majorly cutting into our savings. Also, my in-laws all went nuts over the kid too, and started spoiling her as she was their only granddaughter. I told my husband that we couldn't afford to keep on going like this, but he wouldn't hear a word of it. Because of this, I decided to separate my finances from him. I made sure that my salary was put into a separate account and also separated my retirement fund. I know this sounds really bad, but I knew he was going to drive us into bankruptcy if he kept this up, and I did not find it desirable to ruin my future over a child I did not bring to this world, nor sign up to care for. Recently, the matter of his daughter going to college came up. She wanted to go to a certain college, but it was too expensive, and it didn't look like she would be receiving any scholarship. So my husband sat me down and told me everyone was pooling money so that she could go. Everyone meant him, his ex, and his family. He then asked me how much I would be contributing. I was shocked and immediately refused. I told him that I had already been paying for almost 100% of our household expenses for a year ever since he started paying for his kid. I said firmly that I had already paid my fair share towards his child. This led to a huge fight between us, and my husband ended up saying all sorts of horrible things about me, such as how I was being selfish, unmotherly, and a sorry miser that didn't know the value of a child. I was really hurt by that, and things have been tense since. Then yesterday, I received a notification about an online transaction of 28k going from my account to a different one. 28k was all the money I had in the account, so I started panicking and logged in as fast as I could to check it out. I was relieved to find out that the transaction was still pending, so I cancelled it. Then I told my bank to put my account on hold because I didn't authorize that transaction. I realized that the name on the recipient account was that of my husband's child. This meant that my husband had logged into my account without even asking for my permission and transferred the money. I don't think I have ever been so furious at anyone in my life. I called him up and severely berated him. I asked him how he could have done something like that after I had expressly said no, and how he dared to go behind my back and use my money for his child. He screamed back at me for cancelling the transaction. He was repeating all the stuff about me being selfish and unhelpful. He was demanding why I didn't think that his daughter's education was important. He told everyone about it, and now his whole family and his daughter's mom are also on my case, calling me a bitch for the way I behaved. They're calling me up and constantly harassing me about it. Am I the a-hole? Update. After all that's happened, I can't handle this anymore. I can't be with someone who behaves this way towards me and uses me to prioritize the well-being of his own kid. Not to mention, goes behind my back to use my money to fund her. So I've come to the sad realization that our marriage is done. and there is no hope of saving it. I'm heartbroken and can't begin to think about what I'm going to do with myself after this. After all, we had been married for 7 years, and we had been reasonably happy until this new kid had come along and created all this tension. My husband is absolutely flipping out about me asking for a divorce. He knows that he can't afford to keep treating his kid and paying for child support, let alone for her college, without me. He's telling me that he doesn't want a divorce, and his family are also doing the same. But it's too late for that now. I supported him for over 9 years through his illness, kept him afloat, gave him a good life, but I feel like he pissed all over it. I do not deserve to be treated this way. The calls from everyone keep on coming. Everyone seems to be hoping I'll change my mind, but I won't. I've already seen a lawyer and will be proceeding with the divorce. In the meantime, I've moved into our guest room so that at least I have some space before we sort out all the house business. The whole thing is going to be such a shit show. The situation is super complicated because our house is in both our names. But I know that I can't go on living this way anymore. It's messy and horrible, but I just need to move on. OP, divorcing your husband is the right way to go in this situation. You are being treated badly by him and you don't deserve it. I get him wanting to take care of his child and be a good father, but he shouldn't have forgotten that he's your husband too. And as your husband, he shouldn't do anything that would detriment his home and your well-being. He crossed the line when he made that withdrawal from your account after you said no. And based on your story, you had every right to say no. You're in a really tough position, but don't back down. Move on with the divorce, because at this point, it feels like your husband is just keeping you around for the financial stability you provide him. Story 2. My 30 male's father-in-law is having severe heart issues. About 60 years old, had them his entire life, but they are getting worse, and he is talking about being worried about his wife, 56 female, and what she will do if he passes away. He hasn't gone into details, just said to sister-in-law that he was worried, and has mentioned in side comments that she will probably just move in with my wife, 31 female, and I. I brought it up directly. What will she do if you did pass away? When we visited him last week, and he said that he hopes she can move in with us and we can take care of her. We didn't get into it any further. I would be willing and have no issues with it on a temporary basis. 3 months or so, but not so much permanent. She hasn't worked in about 5 years, so I don't know what her options really are aside from other family, but that is probably equally unappealing to them. They have no savings, living on his disability, can't get life insurance either due to cost or because of heart issues. My wife is on the same page as me. If anything, I'm more okay with having her mom stay with us. We have been married for 7 years. Some things she and I have talked about is that if and when we have a kid, we don't want her mom around 24/7 and basically raising them. Obviously, we would be there a lot, but she would be there all the time. I don't want her having that kind of influence on our child. Children are sponges. We live in a 1-bedroom condo that we are renting, trying to save up to buy. We would have no spare room, just a couch in the living room type deal. Same as where they sleep now when they visit. But that's what the other family would have to offer as well. They are great people. We love visiting them and having them visit us. But when we visit them, or they visit us, we aren't really living as we would like to. Sex either doesn't happen or is very quiet. I work a lot from home and that can't happen when they are here. We drink and smoke, which is awkward when they are here or we are there. They are both Mormon and would love us to be as well. No thank you. We are worried that if she did live with us full time, it would be like this all the time. Not how I envisioned my life at all. Has anyone else successfully navigated a situation like this that left everyone happy? OP, it sounds like the solution is pretty obvious here. Say no. They haven't even asked you, so don't let them make that sort of assumption. It will probably have a lot of fallout. That is not your fault and there is not a lot you can do about it. The sooner you tell them, the sooner they can begin making other plans. They will probably try to blame you either way, so don't let them guilt trip you. If you were willing, you could offer an alternative where you, your wife's other siblings buy or rent. A one-bedroom place for her. It could be near one of the siblings so she can visit and talk regularly. Now for some comments. You have no responsibility to step in here when they haven't made any plans for when they are old. It would be different if she was working, making efforts to prepare for old age, and needed a bit of help. But if she isn't even taking this step to help herself, you would only be enabling her to continue to keep her head in the sand. I'm a 51-year-old woman. The thing is that father-in-law and mother-in-law's plan for you and your wife to take care of mother-in-law is faulty. Mother-in-law is neither old nor in ill health. She is perfectly capable of taking care of herself, and you should feel comfortable saying no in a polite and respectful manner. We would be happy to help mother-in-law with any period of mourning, but she is relatively young and healthy and shouldn't need us to take care of her. She is capable of working, living on her own or with others, and caring for herself, and we would love to support her as she transitions to that new lifestyle. Story 3. It started with a college transfer application. My, 19 females, dad is retired. My mom, 58 female, hasn't worked since she married him, 25 plus years. Because there's no option for retired on this application, I just checked in unemployed. My mother saw that and demanded that I change it to homemaker. There is no option for that on the form. She then starts to go on about how often she volunteers, how she's been good to me, blah blah blah. She asks that I put that instead. I try to explain as politely as possible that it's an electronic form and doesn't have a right in space, and a computer program doesn't determine her self-worth. Next, she said that she was upset that I wasn't acting like a part of this family. I don't spend enough time with her. I work too many hours. I work too few hours. I didn't tell her that I was seeing a guy soon enough. I don't invite anybody over. I usually go to the guy or my best female friend's house after work. She says that all she wants for me is to be a well-educated woman with a good job, a stable relationship, and a belief in a higher power. Thing is, I really don't want to be a part of this family. I wish I didn't feel that way, but I do. She turns every one of my life events into her personal soap opera. She has not once asked me what I want to be, just inquiring why I'm not majoring in journalism or teaching, what she thinks I'd be best at. She doesn't understand that I simply don't have faith. I don't mind or even dislike religion. It's just not my thing. I'm just a really private person. I don't get emotional because my dad would snap and say that I'm acting like a child, even when I tried to commit suicide when I was younger. Or my mom somehow turns it into me not loving her and getting upset, and I have to comfort her, like now. She even got angry when I asked for donations to the animal shelter in lieu of gifts for my birthday. They do love me, but they don't love me. They want a very specific lifestyle for me that clashes with my ideals. I don't like talking about them very much, which leads to a lot of weird looks from people. How do I get her to stop waking me at odd hours in the morning to vent? I have work and I can't focus if I'm waking up 3 times a day to get a lecture. OP, your mom sounds like she has some issues with you seeing her as unemployed, maybe because she's insecure about it. Also, someone who wakes other people up during the night multiple times to vent has a few problems. She sounds like a needy parent who sees nothing wrong with her actions. I think you need to gather the courage to talk to her about these issues. I suggest using a blunt tone to get your points across and really get her attention. Make sure she actually lets you talk and listens well. Communication is key, but if none of this helps, then moving out will be the best option.